late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah once said, Ghana's independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with the freedom or the liberalization of the continent of Africa. And shortly after 1957, when Ghana gained independence, several other African countries followed suit. Of course, the great country, the giant of Africa, Nigeria, got independence in 1960, October 1 to be precise, and since then it's been good stories and of course some challenges here and there. Well, I want to welcome you to this special edition of Trailblazers Africa. My name is Moses Owopade, and today on Trailblazers Africa I've got, of course, the only man who has the authority to speak on behalf of Nigeria in the house with me. I've known him for quite some time when he was the local government chairman at the Lagos State, we call it Lagos Island Local Government. And of course, he did quite well. From there, he moved on to become a powerful man in Nigerian government. He became a senator, a commissioner, and now is the High Commissioner, the ambassador of Nigeria right here in Ghana. I have with me today with a very, he's a very humble man. He has a very unique alias that we call him. Far back in Nigeria, we say Kosiko Rokosibo. Well, if you are not very close to him, you may not understand that. So I have His Excellency, Senator Musiliu Obanikoro in the house. My pleasure, sir.
Pleasure to be here.
Happy Independence Anniversary to you.
Thank you so much.
Well, Nigeria is 50. And how do you feel? Let me start with that. How do you feel that Nigeria is 50?
Well, how does one feel when you turn 50? Well, it depends. For a nation like ours, and given our history, getting to where we are today is a milestone. Is a big deal. It's a big deal in the sense that we are a nation that has gone through civil war, a coup in 1966, a counter coup that followed, then the civil war, then the annulment of a free and fair election by the military, and the Abacha years, and now the democracy. Looking at the totality of challenges that we have faced as a nation, and we are still one united country. I think we've got a lot to be thankful for, and we've got a lot to celebrate. There is a school of thought that says that there's no need to celebrate, given the fact that we are an underachiever, so to say. But you see, achievement, it depends on the context upon which you put it.
Okay.
Maybe in terms of improving the quality of life and standard of living in Nigeria, maybe we should have done better. That's correct, absolutely correct. But all has not been bad. We have contributed immensely also to the liberation of Africa. We have contributed immensely to the stability in West Africa, and within our own great country too. We have a lot that we can celebrate in terms of our individual achievements and also as a nation. So it's not as bad as people would project. And of course, sometimes perception, they say, is reality. If you have the perception that you have failed, then outwardly you will have the feeling and the belief that you have failed. I believe we've not failed as a nation. We can do better than where we are. And of course, given the new leadership that we have, I believe the sky is the beginning.
Yes, you have been in government for quite some time. I knew you when you were the chairman of Lagos Island Local Government. And of course, the records are there of what you did. From there, you moved on to become a senator, a commissioner, then under the Tinubu's administration.
For 4 years.
And You were also the gubernatorial candidate for People Democratic Party at the last election. What would you say, based on your experience as someone who has been in the government, what would you say is the major challenge that Nigeria and Nigerians as citizens are really going through?
Well, the number one challenge that I believe we have is the need to harness all the resources, both human and materials, that God has endowed our country with for the common good of our people. That is lacking. So in summary, you can call that leadership. Nigeria is a country yearning for leadership. And I believe with the right leadership, we should be able to take Nigeria to another level completely, where social infrastructure will be to the point where we can compete with any other nation in the world. And until that aspect is sorted out, I believe all others will continue to elude us. I think the most important and urgent thing that we need to do now is to get the social infrastructure in order. And I'm talking about those basic things like road, education, healthcare, water, and security, etc., etc. I believe if we can get that in order, I believe other things will follow.
The Federal Republic of Nigeria is known to breeding grammars. I use the word breeding because at a point we have what we call the 5 leprosy fingers. His Excellency knows what I'm talking about. At a point we had what we call the annulment. But we have big grammar in Nigeria. I think Nigerians are highly educated. You look at the way we coin our grammar.
Well, before now, we can boast of having the best brains all over, anywhere in the world. But today, the standard of education has fallen to a level that I believe is something drastic is not done. It's going to affect our future. So given that scenario, I think we need a total reform in that department. And I'm happy that the government that we have in place now is ready to play a leadership role in that area.
Your Excellency, Nigeria at 50. But so many people also believe that before you become a leader, you were once a follower. Take for instance, before you became the chairman of the local government, you were amongst us.
Of course.
Before we clamored that, we wanted you to become. Now, would you also point to an area where the followers are not doing what is expected of them?
You see, the problem with us, yes, leadership, but we must put leadership in a context.
Okay.
Because we are always quick, when we say leadership in Nigeria, the first thing somebody will say is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Leadership goes beyond that. In fact, to me, the leadership at the community level is even more important than at the state and at the federal. Because we are all, even the President is a product of a community. So if we get it together at the community level, I believe we will get it right at the state, local government level, at the state level, and at the federal level. So when I talk about leadership, I'm talking about leadership across the board.
Okay.
So as a result of that, those who are followers at the local government level are leaders in their own community. And also in your own home, you are a leader. Every one of us has a leadership role to play in our respective homes. And if we play it well, as they say in our part of the world, charity begins at home. If you leave your house with bad tendencies, what you will exhibit outside will be those bad tendencies. And that is the more reason why emphasis now should be placed properly at the family level, the nuclear family level. And that is what is missing in Nigeria today. I can recall when we're growing up in a community or on a street, we are all our brother's keeper, our sister's keeper. And if there is anything wrong in a particular house, everybody will rise to correct it. But these days, it is you are left to your immediate or nuclear family. In the past, if a child should run foul of anything, your neighbor can discipline that child, not anymore. Gone are those days when our teachers, our principal of schools can discipline their students. It's no longer like that. So these are some of the things that we must find a way to bring back into the society, where my child becomes your child in terms of welfare, and your child becomes my child in terms of welfare. So when we have that, there will be more supervision.
Okay.
Even a child will even feel more wanted. Because if everybody is looking out for a particular child or for all the children, they feel the attention more, and all eyes will be on them to do what is right at every given. So that is missing. You have a nation where everybody's to themselves, and God for us all. It's not going to work. If I'm placed in a position of authority to administer to the commonwealth of our country or of our community, I should be able to discharge that without looking at myself first. And that is missing.
Okay.
And that leads us to the issue of corruption, which has permeated every level of our society. So what you see people exhibiting in government is what they have brought from their communities. That is why I'm saying that we must attack it at the community level, where people with unknown source of wealth are not unnecessarily celebrated as we have it today.
Just like I do say every week on Trailblazers Africa, that the continent of Africa is blessed with a lot of potentials, where some potentials are utilized, while some are yet to be utilized. And today, I've got a very wonderful personality that you would like to meet and enjoy. Well, if I say I brought South Africa to the studio of Krista TV, would you agree with me? Well, right in the studio is the ambassador of South Africa to Ghana. Well, before I bring her to your living room, let me quickly say that she was born in South Africa and she completed both primary and secondary education in South Africa. Well, something traumatic really happened. The event of 1976 that led to the shooting and death of her youngest brother. Well, this is one thing she wouldn't like to really talk about, because when you look at the memory of what that brings to you, you begin to have a concern. Well, I have Her Excellency in the studio with me, Her Excellency Janet Undlovu, the South African High Commissioner to the Republic of Ghana. I'd like to welcome you to Trailblazers Africa. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Moses. I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, most times if I see you, you are always decked in a different attire of South Africa. Why that choice?
Well, because I think for a long time we thought whatever comes from the West is the best. And I think with the African Renaissance that you are seeing sweeping through the continent, Africans are increasingly asserting themselves and admiring what is authentically theirs. We are admiring our wear, our clothes, we are admiring our music, we are admiring our food. And so I want to be a part of that African Renaissance where I can personally showcase the best that Africa has to offer.
That's interesting. Now, let's try to look at Your Excellency, Ma. Before becoming the ambassador, how was your foundation like when you were born? Was it like, was it that rosy, the family? Because for you to have attained this position now, maybe the journey was very, very smooth.
No, my journey was not smooth at all, Moses. I was born during the apartheid era, where South African blacks were treated as subhumans. I was born in the locations in Soweto. And actually, I think the fact that your origins, where you come from, need not define who you are. The apartheid government had kept us in these shanty towns, and they were brutalizing our people, they were killing our people. But we as a people, as black South Africans, we knew that we are blessed by God. He has given us this land, and that if we fight and fight hard enough with the support of our fellow Africans, with the support of the international community, that we will get there. And I am happy to inform you that even though it was hard, they killed my brother, who was the sweetheart of the family, the youngest. And so that's when I made a commitment to myself that I will fight the apartheid system and help to reclaim the dignity and self-respect of our people. I went into exile, and then eventually I was sent to the United States to be part of the anti-apartheid movement. And while I was there, I interacted with church leaders, with business leaders, with labor leaders, with youth leaders, the whole spectrum of people. And in New York, the chorus of Down with Apartheid, Free Nelson Mandela, Free South Africa, was very popular. And so I participated in that anti-apartheid struggle. And I think as I moved from state to state, from city to city, telling the American people, and of course America is diverse, some of the people were coming from the Caribbean, from Latin America, they were joining us in opposing the policies of apartheid and reclaiming the dignity of the black South Africans. So I think that period prepared me for diplomatic work, but I didn't set out to be a diplomat. I set out to help bring down the policies of apartheid. And so after I completed my studies in the US, the United Nations had decided to accept the African National Congress, the political party of Nelson Mandela, as the legitimate representative of the South African people. So I went and worked as part of the team that was going around the country and globally. We traveled to Trinidad and Tobago, we traveled to Jamaica, we traveled everywhere seeking support for our freedom, and we got a lot of support. So when Nelson Mandela was released, it was time for me to go home, and I did. I worked with the Independent Electoral Commission, the body that was charged with the responsibility of ushering in the new era of democracy in South Africa. And of course, after the elections, because I had worked in the US at the United Nations, I was sent back as Deputy Ambassador to the United Nations. And I served at the UN. After that, they sent me, after 4 years, they sent me to California as Consul General at our Consul General office in Los Angeles. I served there for 5 years. And then when I finished, they said, we are sending you to Accra, the home of Pan-Africanism. We had learned about Kwame Nkrumah, about the leadership that he provided in calling for the total liberation of the African continent. So I was really excited when I learned that I'm coming to Accra. So that was my journey from an anti-apartheid activist to being a diplomat.
But while you were doing that, what gave you that impetus that, look, it's a fight that you must continue? Were you afraid of your life, then being as a sacrifice for what all you were doing then as a young woman then?
It was very scary. It was very scary because the police would imprison and even kill all those who were opposing the policies of apartheid. But I think after seeing young people being shot at point blank range for doing nothing else but demanding their rights, I just felt that I had to be part of this movement. I felt that, life is worthless if your dignity is not respected. So even though it was hard, because some of our compatriots died during the course of this struggle, men, women, and children. But I think what kept me going was the belief that collectively as South Africans, we need to commit ourselves to the liberation of our country.
Now, you were out and His Excellency Nelson Mandela was in the prison. And there was campaign, there was struggle, there was crusade that he must be freed. At that time, how was South Africa at that time? What is the tension like?
I think the events of June 1976, when the police went out and shot students who were demanding their human rights, young people just lying dead like useless dirt on the streets of Soweto. I think from June 16, 1976, that's when the momentum for the struggle for liberation really peaked, because now you found young people wanting to leave the country, wanting to go overseas, either to go to school or either to train, military training, so that they can come back with skills to liberate our country. It was very tense, and the regime at that time, it was like they were going crazy because they were taking people at night and locking them up in jail, like Steve Biko. They killed him in jail, and they say people were committing suicide in jails. But clearly, it was a regime that had lost its mind, and I think the international community recognized that you have a regime that has gone crazy. And so that helped to build the momentum, not only in South Africa, but across the world. You had the British anti-apartheid movement, you had the anti-apartheid movement in the US, you had Scandinavian countries supporting Nelson Mandela and his African National Congress. It became a global movement for justice and the protection of human rights. Yes.
Now, South Africa has been the focus of so many countries in the world. Especially the World Cup that took place in South Africa brought everybody to South Africa, and we're looking at South Africa as the hope of maybe, do I say the word hope of Africa? Would you say that South Africa as a country is living up to expectation that is other African can emulate?
Well, Moses, I think South Africa has its role to play in the renewal of the African continent. We have challenges from Cape to Cairo, and there are some of the African countries that are doing better than others. But I think through the initiatives that are being taken at the AU level, the economic integration of the continent, ensuring that there's infrastructure, that the current infrastructure is also improved. I think if we work together as a continent, trading amongst ourselves, touring, each other's tourist sites, I think that will go a long way in ensuring that we benefit collectively from that African approach towards doing business. It's okay to trade with other countries. It's okay to go on holiday to Europe, but we don't know each other. I mean, for me, it's my first time in West Africa now that I'm ambassador here. So I think if we can start to appreciate what we have, what is ours, authentically ours, I think the African continent will do well for its peoples. That will help to promote sustainable development on the African continent.
are born great, while others work towards achieving greatness in life. Whichever way, though, your contribution to your society marks you as an achiever or a successful person. Today on Trailblazers Africa, I will be speaking with an achiever, a successful woman, and one of the highly honored amongst all women in Africa and even beyond, in Europe and America. My guest today has traveled wide. He worked and lived in Africa for over 30 years as the convener, founder, and head of mission of the African Union, African Diaspora Forum, that will link diasporans, Africans, and their talents to the development of Africa. She has been a valuable asset to African Union's development of diasporans' issues. Well, I must say that my guest today is an African woman, and she was given a concrete expression in March 2004 when she was one of the supporters of African Women 2004, which produced the Abuja Accord. Well, to some Nigerians, you understand what I'm talking about. The historic document of the aspiration of African women, which was developed at the first ever African Women's Conference held in Abuja, Nigeria, March 2004. I must say that she's a mother. She's everything you want to talk about. She's also a doctor. So I'd like to welcome Ambassador Dr. Erica Bennett to the studio. I say, welcome to Trailblazers Africa.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, yes. We've heard so much about Ambassador Dr. Erica Bennett, but how did it all begin? What's your background like?
Well, I'm not going to tell you very much because you're going to have to read the book. We're doing a book, and the book will definitely talk about some of the trials and tribulations and some of the journeys that we have had in our life. And the book basically is to encourage people. It's not what happens to you in life. It's what you deal with what happens. I am an Army brat, meaning that my father was in service, so we lived and traveled all over the world. And I think this is what created the zeal for being able to live anywhere and everywhere. I am an African born in America, but I always say you're not an African because you're born in Africa. You're an African when Africa is born in you, and I am an African woman.
Yes, you are the head of mission of African in the diaspora, and we have a lot of Africans in the diaspora, but there has always been this erroneous belief, or do I say superstition, that Africans, you don't need to educate female child. What would you say to that?
Well, I would say that's certainly not true. You need to educate all of our children. Our population in Africa is below 35, so the majority of our population in Africa are young people. So we need to educate both our male and our female. When you educate a woman, you're educating the whole village, don't you think?
Yeah.
Absolutely, huh?
I do believe.
Yes.
Now, what do you do as the head of mission of African in the diaspora?
Well, let me share with you what that is all about, because people really don't understand the concept. This is the first time in the history of the world there is a diaspora diplomatic mission dealing specifically with diaspora issues. When people say, what do you do? I say, we're work in progress. Every day we get another kind of mandate. Those of my clan members who come to America, they want to know how to invest. They want to know about dual citizenship. They want to know about adjusting to Africa. And we do orientation classes at the mission as well. We do a lot of youth development programs there because we really believe that the youth is really the way of really creating that kind of synergy between the diaspora and those of us here in Africa.
So, as you are the head of mission, how many countries in Africa do you have your representative, the ambassador? Because the last time when Obama was in town, I was privileged to have you interviewed, and I met some of the ambassadors from Ethiopia and Nigeria. So how do you coordinate them? How many countries are we at the moment?
Well, we've been asked to open up 10 missions in 10 different African countries. Currently, we're in the process of opening one in Senegal, Nigeria, and South Africa. Those are the 3 that's on the cards for 2011.
Okay.
Now, how they will be set up is pretty much Ghana will always be the first and always the headquarters because that's where we started. Ghana, as you know, is a very Pan-African country. Ghana tends to open up to all of us in Africa and receive us as though we're really their brothers and sisters. So I really am very grateful to both governments, this government as well as the previous government, that really worked with us in terms of giving us the land grant. We built our building. We're located at the W.E.B. Du Bois Center, as you know, and that's a historical site right there. So we're very honored and privileged to be located there. We get visitors from all over the world. In fact, we had a visitor that came. We just recently supported a conference here that held last week, and these were about 15 African countries who are opening up diaspora missions in their country, meaning that in the government there will be a diaspora minister and a diaspora. So that was 15 countries that came last week, and we worked with them in terms of helping them organize that particular conference.
But before now, we've not been having such.
No, it's the first. Ghana is truly the first. Ghana is the first to have a minister of diaspora affairs, and certainly the first to have a diaspora diplomatic mission.
But how do other ambassadors see you? The political appointees, I mean. Like the other time I saw you with the ambassador of South Africa and several other ambassadors. How do you relate with them?
They're very supportive, extremely.